In this life, there are moments when we feel a shift in things. We leave a moment different from when we entered it. These moments make us who we are. Let's talk about them. This story you've never told before. So this is your first
No.
time.
I told the story back when it happened, and that was it.
And what year, April, that did this story begin to happen?
Yeah, that's the kind of voice you need because it was the 90s, the
The 1900s?
1800s. No, the
Yeah,
1900s.
yeah.
We did have a little bit of modern day technology, but not much.
I feel like in your
So,
40s, that's just how you tell stories now because it doesn't matter what you are talking about when you're talking about your childhood. My kids are like, what do you mean? It's especially when you're talking about telephones and tape cassettes
mhm.
and like all the, media, and they're just like, what?
You
So I'm
mean a
like, back in my
computer
day.
was
Yeah.
like a 10 by 12 area of your house? Like that was the
Mm-hmm.
whole thing. Yeah. Yeah. And it weighed so much. There was no sneaking the computer into your room at night. It, and it was had to be plugged into the stinking phone line to
Mm-hmm.
work.
Yeah, so we never even had internet at my house ever. Now that my dad has passed and we have internet there, that's the first time we've ever had internet at
What?
that house. Yeah, so
What?
every time I would go visit, my phone would trash out, like the
Yeah,
battery
because
would
you
just
didn't have cell
drain.
service either, I don't think.
Yeah, and
Probably
he
was
would want me
always.
to order stuff on Amazon for him, and I'd have to go outside in the driveway close to the neighbor's just house just
Oh
so I
my
could
gosh.
order his markers or whatever he wanted me to get him.
I'm surprised he even comprehended Amazon then, because he never had to do it himself.
He just thought I was probably a place I
It's,
just bought stuff
it's
from.
a
Like he
magical
didn't know.
ordering. He probably thought it was an actual store next to the container store in town.
Yeah, he might have. The kids these days don't know the struggles, man,
No, no.
from back in our
So,
day.
so yeah, back in the 1900s, this one is an even older story than Carlos Lee because the thing they have in common is this is another story about a favorite teacher.
Oh, good. Okay.
So, my
Do you
favorite,
would you say that you have many favorite teachers, or do you just have two,
I think
or?
it's these two guys. I was trying to think about that recently.
Oh, okay.
I had a few others in high school that had an impression on me. But if I were to name my favorite, it'd just be, Professor McWhirter and Bio Bob, aka Mr. Tallman. So,
Oh, so Mr. Tallman is a real person. Okay, because
he is a.
I was thinking for a minute it was like a cryptid. Like, isn't there like a kid? The kids are into some kind of thing called a Tallman, or like, isn't there like
Oh, well,
a?
there's a straw man.
I think there's some other one. We'll have to like circle
Oh,
back. For anybody who's a parent who doesn't know right now, I'll put it in the Instagram so we can all be a little bit brighter after this and hip to what the
what
kids
is
are
this
talking
thing?
about.
That would be
Yeah.
hysterical if that was an actual thing. No, Mr. Tallman is a real man, a real person. And I thought he had died. And I told my sister this. And then I recently learned that he's alive and well. And it
Oh,
was his
good.
father that died because there's apparently a lot of Bob Tallmans in this world. And so my sister's like, "You mean to tell me he was dead and now he's not?" I said, "I'm sorry. I didn't
I mean,
know."
to be fair, were you gonna know that that was like I wouldn't have thought about that. I would have probably jumped to conclusions.
Well, we knew Mr. Tallman pretty well and would have heard resoundingly about his death if it truly had happened. So I think this was during my pregnancy baby time, so my brain was not working well. So just
Those were the
blame it on that.
days.
To tell this story, first you have to understand who Mr. Tallman was and kind of the kind of effect that he had on his students. So now, I don't know if everyone loved him, but my friends and I did. So he was called Bio Bob. He was Mr. Tallman. He was the lone biology teacher in the whole high school because, small town Michigan,
Yeah.
there was very few students. So he was the lone biology professor, and then there was a chemistry teacher. He wasn't a professor, but he's got doctorates and stuff. I know he went to U of M and he has probably a doctorate from MIT or something. The dude is smart. So you're in this small town high school where there's not a lot of resources or anything, but then there was Bio Bob, and he was like the classic absent-minded professor. He was a really tall, slender dude with like kind of poofy brown hair that made him seem even taller, and a big brown beard, and these giant spectacles. And
To see the world.
his eyes were always just kind of like wide and like wondering, like thinking about possibilities and discoveries and ideas. He was just like everything was exciting for him. He was endlessly curious. And if you were new to the school and you weren't sure who Mr. Tallman was, you would immediately be able to tell because he was the guy wearing the white lab coat with his name on it, Tallman.
I love that for him. I love that for him. I think that's cool. That means he took himself seriously, right? Because
Oh, he
my
did.
biology teachers did not
He's
wear.
not sporting that white.
No.
So he was so into that actually when I took advanced biology with him, we all got lab coats with our names on them.
Wow.
So we were real scientists.
That's
Carrie.
serious.
We
But
had
you
to
don't
raise some money for it. I think I had to sell candy bars. It was like a $56 lab coat. I don't remember with our name on it.
That's so cool though. Like think of how much like how can I say this? Think of how much you buy in as a kid when you get your own freaking lab coat. But number two, with your name on it, I would be so vested in whatever he was teaching that it would be worth the fundraising.
I
You
guess
know?
it was. So he wore that lab coat perennially. That was his uniform. Okay. So lab coat, khaki pants or dark pants, wild hair, big glasses, and then his like accessory was a
Please say it's a pocket protector. Please.
no.
Oh, okay.
Possibly he had this. I don't know, but it was popcorn. He was like hypoglycemic or something, so he was constantly eating popcorn out of like old Tupperware buckets. Like he was like the biggest ecologist recycler guy ever.
Wow,
So nothing
cool.
you would have appreciated that about him.
Yeah.
Carrie. He was huge into ecology. He ran the ecology club at school, so I was in ecology club with him, and that's actually my first 15 minutes of fame, Carrie, because I was on the news
Ooh.
for helping launch the recycling program at the high school
Oh my
under
gosh.
Mr. Tallman's tutelage. And so I remember being in the video, and then I'd see myself in the background walk around, the news people are talking, but then they interviewed me and my cronies, and so
Wow.
I like talked on there for a couple
Wow,
minutes.
that's cool. That's a big deal when you're in high school.
Yeah, so he was huge into ecology, but into all the sciences. But he was very
Yeah.
much into saving and recycling and stuff. He's so huge into ecology. This is how I learned he was alive, Carrie. I saw a few years ago that he is entered into the Michigan Ecology Hall of Fame.
Wow. I did not know that was a thing. Where does this take place in Michigan, I wonder?
It took place at Grand Valley, right by where I work.
Oh, wow.
But it's through like somewhere in Muskegon. Somebody started this in the last maybe 15 years or
Decade.
something. Yeah. So it's a newer thing.
In this century, you mean?
Yes, in the 2000s.
Okay.
So he's big into ecology, and he's big into this lab coat. So that was Mr. Tallman. You're looking for Mr. Tallman, look for the lab coat and the popcorn.
Okay, got you.
He had a couple of sayings he would always say. One I did not remember till my brother reminded me, but the one I remember was if you ever got a question wrong, he'd ask a question in class, you raise your hand, or he'd say, hey, what do you think about this? Or blah, blah, blah. If you were wrong, he wouldn't say you're wrong. He would say buzz. So he's always like buzz, buzz, buzz.
Oh.
Everyone, if you were wrong, buzz. And it was a different way of saying it, and it never made me feel like an idiot. It was just like buzz. The buzzer says that was incorrect. Let's get the correct answer out there. So,
Oh, okay.
but he also apparently said, Graderade. All good students should come to the aid of their grade. Graderade.
I think I need a minute to process that one.
I know. Was that a tagline from the 90s of
All
Gatorade?
good students.
Well,
Say it
all good
again.
athletes come to the aid of their team or whatever. And so he was like,
Maybe.
it's
If not,
Gatorade.
I feel like that's a missed opportunity.
So
So
he
wait,
had-
can I'm sorry. Can you use that as in a sentence, please? Like, when would he say that? Would it be like
it's time
when
for
you
some
got it wrong?
Gatorade. Yeah, you guys.
Oh.
This test was terrible. It's time for some Gatorade.
Ah, okay. That's funny. That's so funny. I have heard that one other time as haterade.
Oh, really?
Let me pour you a tall glass of haterade because you are a hater. So Gatorade is even better. I love that.
So that was Mr. Tallman. And he was always found, in his classrooms. Like in my mind, I knew him outside of school, but in my mind,
So
Mr.
wait,
Tallman.
can we pause? How
Yeah.
did you know him outside of school?
I will
Were your
tell you that in a
families?
moment.
Oh, sorry. I always jumped the
I-
gun.
No, that's totally fine. Well, I know. I'll tell you right now. His youngest son was one of our friends. So
Oh.
my girlfriends, a lot of them were a grade ahead of me, and so was he. And so he was in band with them. He was just in our friend group, Andy. So we knew Andy. And then, P.S., my dad's the biology teacher at school. And there's only like 15 teachers in the whole school, maybe. So we knew Mr. Tallman, my girlfriends and my other friends, even more so than me because they were in band with him and stuff. But they would go to his house and stuff on the weekends and things. And Mr. Tallman was one of the parents, you know. So he was also the teacher, but he was also one of the parents. And despite me knowing him in that way and having gone to his house and seeing him, you know, in his street clothes, Carrie, to this day, I couldn't tell you what he would look like in street clothes. He's wearing the lab coat.
He probably still wore his lab coat at home and you didn't even notice.
Probably did. And I thought this was normal. And he had his popcorn. All systems go. Because that was just like him. So,
interestingly enough, I'm curious, and if anybody else out there listening has that I didn't go to school with anyways, has a similar story. I feel like it's so common for small town teachers for their kids to be at school with them. Like when I went to other schools, I didn't notice that their kids went to the same school, but small town, the teacher, that one of my science teachers in middle school, his kid was in our grade too. I mean, I wasn't friends with him, but like that, but yeah. So I think that's really a common thing that I just never paid attention to. I'd be curious to know if anybody else could, you know, say anything better or, you know, that. Similar.
I think you're right because like I'm in an urban setting now and there are teachers and my kids have a lot of classmates who their mom is the Spanish teacher, whatever, but not as many. And I think it's because those teachers can live out of district. Like they can still get to work, but in a small town, you don't want to be driving 30 miles to work. So you're going to live in the town and the district where you work and your kids are going to go there. Yeah, so that's kind of how we also knew Mr. Tallman. But for me, he's still Bio Bob in his classroom to this day. His classroom also, I didn't realize it at the time. It was freaking huge, Carrie. It was like he got grandfathered in from when he started there in the 70s because our high school, it was this long, narrow school, and he had an entire side of the hallway, half of the side of the school were his classrooms. He had, like, first you walk in and you see his classroom, and it's like the size of 2 classrooms. You know, there's room for labs and stuff. And then on either side, there was a door that led into more space. So he had his own office. Carrie, have you ever known a teacher to have their own office space? I don't think I did.
I actually, now that you mention it, I think the only that I've ever seen have their own office space is probably the biology teacher. Like, I feel like you're right. I feel like there's this, I don't know. So, I mean, I've been to several different schools. For those of you who don't know, I went to, for my first 12 years, I was in one city. Then we moved for like 4 years to another city. So that took us to like beginning of high school, and then I went to 4 high schools in my last 2 years. So like if I'm going through a lot of science teachers in my brain right now, but like I know for sure my elementary teacher, he had his own little like study off of his room. I'm also thinking of like middle school. Maybe they didn't, but there's always like more doors in the science lab.
Yes.
So they could have had more.
Okay, maybe this was normal.
Maybe it is because of all the paperwork formally, and they didn't want to mix it with the Bunsen burners.
I know, they didn't want it lighting on fire.
Yeah, maybe it's something like that. So maybe they do.
Though he didn't do Bunsen burners himself, but the science teacher, the chemistry teacher on the other side did. Maybe she had an office. I never took chem. But yeah, those two teachers had that whole side of the building.
Wow, that's huge. Especially small town USA.
I know. And so he had his desk and his refrigerator for his lunches and other ephemera and shelves. And then the other room was full of mystery stuff. But it was like huge. And the whole back wall was like windows, like floor to ceiling, or big windows. But you wouldn't know it because anytime you walked in the class, it felt like you're walking into darkness. Because the dude was such a prolific plant man. He had a wall of random ass exotic plants across the whole back wall.
Oh, wow.
Sucking in all the sunlight.
That was before COVID, so you know he was serious.
Oh, yeah. This dude, he is the OG plant dad. And I had no idea at the time. I was just like, biology teachers like plants. Like he was really into he had a forestry class too. He was really into all the
Wow.
outdoors, which is why I was always like, this guy is super bright and interesting. Why is he settling in Nowheresville? But it's because he
That's
had the
true.
outdoors. Like you
Yeah.
can't go to some high-paying urban school and have all these options. So
Yeah.
he chose that. But I remember once, so it was just a wall of plants, and he had a running team of student assistants regularly, and their job
Mm-hmm.
was, one of their huge jobs was to water all those plants and take care of the animals. But he had so many crazy plants in there. I remember once my friend Jess and I were working in that part of the classroom on something, and she or I bumped into one of his cactuses. He had crazy ass cactuses back there, Carrie,
Wow.
and we cut our hand. And so we told Mr. Tallman, and he looks at us and he gets real still and real quiet, and he says, "Which one?" And so we
Uh-oh.
showed him, and he's like, "Okay, you're fine. You're fine. You can go back to
That's
work."
not the poison one? Oh
I
my
just sat
God.
there thinking, why were you concerned for a moment? And if so, could you let us know which of those was the ones we shouldn't be touching? Because I had
Because
never
then you'd
seen
be
him
like a
just,
magnet to it.
yeah, he stopped in his tracks. Please tell me it wasn't, that one. So
That's
these were the
funny.
kind of plants. And when I read the article about him getting the ecology award, he talked about his plants. Apparently, he has like a 2-story greenhouse at his house now. He did not have this, I'm pretty sure, when I was a kid.
Should we Google search and just see if we can search around where
Find
you
it.
came
It's
from?
probably surrounded by trees. You won't
Ah.
find it. You won't. I could call him. Like I could probably call him and
Yeah,
ask him.
maybe
But
we should. Maybe we should tell him, like, hey,
so my
we want
sister
to
and
see this
I,
place. Yeah.
we want to send him a letter because she said, April, all those years ago, because my sister Annie went through his classes too, and she was his assistant like I was, and she did the plant. She goes, I back then I had no idea like that I would be into plants so much as an adult.
So
But
that's
she
what I
is
was going
now.
to ask you. So do
Yeah.
you feel like some of this is from, because you have a lot of plants. I mean, you've had more, but my
Mhm.
point is you take very good care of them. You have humidifiers for them and you baby them
Lights.
and lights. And so do you think that that had an effect on you too?
I think
Is it just
it.
because you're a 40-year-old woman in
Well,
suburbia?
my dad always liked plants. Like when
Yeah.
I was a kid, I remember he had this big palm tree in our house, and my sister reminded me actually, my dad had one of Mr. Tallman's propagations. He grew this giant ass cactus at some
Wow.
point because Mr. Tallman would give props to people. So my dad is a plant guy too, low key. But I wish I had realized what I had in that teacher when I was there to ask him about the plants and learn about it. Because I thought it was cool,
Oh.
but I just thought, well, that's Mr. Tallman's plants. They're easy
Well,
to
I mean, I
grow, you know?
I think about all just the kids on my street that I call them my borrowed children
Mm-hmm.
because I think second mom is just or something like it's just can
Mm-hmm.
just be very like tricky and especially
Yeah.
with divorce rates and all those things. So I call them all my borrowed children and say they ever moved away. I
Yeah.
would love for them to message me or send me a letter and say, "Hey, I love plants because of you." I'd probably cry my eyes out, honestly. So I think that I give 2 thumbs up for that idea.
Okay. Yeah,
Honestly, I think that he would love that
I was thinking, okay,
since he's
sister,
not dead
as of today.
as of today. Oh my God, we should not talk about that.
Oh,
Okay, go
okay,
ahead.
okay. No jinxing.
So,
Yeah, so I thought, Annie, we got to take pictures with our plants and say, hey, Mr. Tallman, just let you know, your love of plants lives on in your students. So
yeah.
he said, and I was just cracking up when I was reading this article about him because I know what he's like. And I thought, whoever interviewed him, did they have any idea what they're getting into with this guy? Because he is just wild and crazy and funny.
Okay.
But he at one point he said, I try to have a story for each plant. They're sort of like buddies. And I thought, oh my
Aw.
gosh, I name all my plants. And
You
my
do.
so does my sister. She'll text me, Tom Selleck's not looking good today. Not the real Tom
Aw.
Selleck, a
Yeah.
plant. Tom Selleck is
Aw.
fine, but her plant. Or Vern. I gave Vern a makeover today. Vern's not a person. Vern is a plant. So,
Love that.
and he was talking about how he has imported plants from various countries, and he
Oh my
cracked
gosh,
a joke that
that's
he
serious.
says, "I know more about importing plants than the customs people do at this point."
That's a badge of honor. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you also have to be pretty knowledgeable to be able to
Yes, to
tout
get that
such a
across the border and to keep them alive. So, Carrie, I don't know what he had in the classroom. I have no idea looking back. It wasn't pothos and aloe plants. It was not that.
It was something.
It
I
was
wonder if he had
crazy.
like the real life Audrey, and he's like, "Which one bit you? Which
Yes.
one was it?" And then he didn't tell you it was poisonous because it literally was like, "Feed me, Mr. Tallman." Yeah,
It could have been. It could have
that's so
been.
funny.
But I recall when I was his assistant, he didn't have me on plant watering watch. Like he had me do a lot of his paper input grading and stuff like tech. So maybe that would have, sprouted my love of plants faster. But his class, okay, so it starts there, Carrie. His class was like this crazy, it was like a crazy freaking lab. So you've got the wall of plants obscuring the light. So you're in this dark feeling room, which could have been a lot lighter, but you have this jungle of plants that maybe you shouldn't get too close to. He also had tons of animals. He had gerbils and hamsters and birds. He had, my brother said he had crickets he raised to feed something else. And I remember that. I don't remember what he
Probably a
was raised.
snake. Oh, you omitted
I
that
don't
from your
think there was a
brain.
snake.
I.
Maybe.
Oh wait, no. It. What
No,
eats
I think there was a
crickets?
snake in a jar. He had behind one set of doors, I remember he told one of his assistants, because what he would do is over spring break or summer break, his assistants, he would give them the keys to the school in his class and say, hey, I need you to go take care of my stuff.
Oh
Like
wow.
feed the animals, water the plants, maintain my menagerie. So this one girl, he said, okay, you got to do this and this and this and take care of the ants. And she goes, okay, what ants? He goes, behind those doors. So she went over to the doors and she opened them up. It was like two giant like cupboard doors. And there's this giant glass box
Like an
filled
ant
with like
farm.
fire ants. No, not a happy ant farm. It was some sort of terrifying ant because the girl took one look, closed the doors, stepped back, and was like, peace out. I am not taking care of those.
Wow.
I don't even know. He also had fish, I think. But anyways, there was just little animals around living. And he also had a collection of dead things too. So be careful where you look, Carrie, because if you look behind, the cupboard, you're going to see the fire ants. If you look here and there, you're going to see crazy stuff. On top of the cupboards, he had these
Pickled
formaldehyde
animals.
jars. Yes, pickled
Oh.
animals. But he loved curiosities and things that were bizarre that he didn't understand or things.
Did
So
he have shrunken heads too? I'm just curious.
no,
It's a. I feel like it's a segue. It's a very slippery slope
he did
between.
have a real human skeleton though. Those are illegal, Carrie, but I think they were probably legal when he procured it. But his name was Gomez, and he only came out at special times. He was in a closet because he's a skeleton. But he was a real human skeleton. He was not one of those things you order from Amazon for your classroom.
Wow. I don't even know what to say. The woo woo spiritual person in me is like freaking out right now. I'm like, that's not good. You don't know. We don't do that. We don't do that.
You will love some of these things that he had us do in class,
Okay,
Carrie.
I'm still
So,
listening.
but in the jars, he had, I remember, a two-headed calf. Yeah, mutated animals and things like that. And I think my sister said there was a brain, part of a brain. Human, we don't know.
I
I
wish
can't
everybody
remember.
could see my face right now. Just maybe we should
class-
screenshot that where I'm
This
like,
class was crazy. I think there was some sort of a snake in a jar. I'm not sure. Maybe that was a two-headed snake. It was things that were like Siamese twins or
they're
bizarre
oddities.
stuff.
They're
Yes.
oddities.
And
Yeah.
they were there for you to see. So
I know. I'm in shock. I'm in shock right
So
now.
he loved all this kind of crazy shit. Okay, he loved learning and asking questions and things. So what I loved his. I remember his biology class, and I was his assistant. But my favorite was advanced biology. It was a class with like a dozen students in it. And my friend Jess and I were in there, and that was where you really got to do stuff. In regular biology, you did, like you dissected a frog and you looked at Gomez and learned about bones or whatever. So in
Okay.
advanced bio, he had us do like water testing. We'd go out all these different swampy or water areas and like dredge the water and like test it for particles and biomes and learn about all the biomes.
Wow.
He had us, okay, this one you'll like. Nobody knows what I'm talking about, has ever heard about this. we did power colors. Do you have any idea what power colors are, Carrie?
Is that like an aura thing?
Um, Possibly. For
Okay.
him, it
No, because
was,
I've had you have mentioned power colors
yes,
before
wondering
when
if
you and I
anyone
were
knows about
talking.
them. That was from this class, okay? This is, as anyone out there listening heard of power colors. That was one of my favorite things, and it seemed like hoo-ha at the time, but he believed in it. And Mr. Tallman was not a Looney Tune. He's not a dummy. So
No,
power color,
he's based in science. Like,
correct. He was a
also, I'm
literal
really
scientist.
horrified by the amount of things he had in his room. Because if you think about it, looking like this is how crazy the in Wild West the 1900s were. That
Yes.
Mr. Small Town America, what did you call him? Mr.
Bio
Biology,
Bob.
Bio Bob, like has a two-headed calf in a jar chilling, and not to mention all the other things. So
Creepy shit.
so yeah, so then my brain first goes to that stuff costs a lot of money to purchase. So was he exporting plants too? Was he so where was he getting all this extra money
He
to do
was
these things?
clever as hell. He had a friend who probably had a friend who's like, "Hey, my buddy so and so is retiring, and he has a human skeleton that he got in
Oh my
1900.
God, you're probably right.
I'll get it."
And then I also think like some people think that Harry Potter is not real and that you can't just like
Magic
he's like the
stuff.
perfect Harry Potter
He could
professor.
be. He could be living, yes, living in the Muggle world, but he is a
Living in the
professor.
Muggle world with his imaginary doors that open with
Mm-hmm.
creepy, weird little animals and dead things. So
And believing in power colors.
that's why
So,
he's hiding in small town USA.
oh, that could be. That could be
Power
Carrie.
colors. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So, I loved power colors because I did not buy it. Okay, and it was just he said, okay, we're gonna do power colors, guys. There is this belief, backed in some sort of science. I've not found any paperwork on this in my high school paperwork, whatever. There is this belief that certain colors give you more power and other colors can drain your power. So like when you're going for a job interview, you wear your power colors, which we know kind of in the whole dress for your season kind of a thing or
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But his was literally, he had this big stack of felt squares of all the colors, okay? Tons of colors. And then he would blindfold you and a student would secretly put one of the colors down on a chair and you'd sit on a chair. And then you'd squeeze this contraption to see how much power your fist had when you were touching this color. And then we would chart it all. And so I
my
was like,
gosh.
that's nice, power colors. And so we did it. But Carrie, my power colors are the colors. They're like, yes, April, you were stronger when you squeezed these colors, and you were less strong when you sat on these colors.
Oh my
And
gosh, can I guess a couple? How
yeah,
many did you
guess
pick?
the good ones and the bad ones.
Oh, okay. I would
Whatever you want to
say
guess.
brown. No. Okay, I would say for good colors, magenta or like burgundy.
No,
Green.
I can't remember.
Dang.
Possibly.
I'm trying to think what other colors that like we've talked about this before. So calling the power colors to me, I've never heard it like that except for you saying it. But if you follow science and energy, which I, kind of do,
Low
each
key.
color has its own vibration or its own hertz. I mean, everything is energy, right? So if you have a certain color, it's going to have a different vibration than the next one. So what he's saying jives exactly with overall thinking of colors, because colors have frequency and I might listen, I'm not a science major, so I might be messing it up, botching it big. Colors have frequency and frequency can be turned into a measurement like hertz or something like that.
Yeah.
So that to me, that's totally believable. To have a felt square of that color,
That you're sitting on, that your pants are between. It's not
I
even
want to know how
touching
to
you.
test this theory because like I would love to just
I know.
can we ask him that too? Say, hey, P.S. We
Power
love your
colors.
plants. Can we also investigate power colors? Do you still have this contraption for us to test? Because
Can you explain it? Maybe it was
I need to
different.
know what color to wear.
I'm pretty sure I sat on the colors. So you said burgundy. Burgundy is close to maroon. Maroon was one of my shitty colors. And
Oh,
I was
really?
like,
Okay.
I hate maroon. I was like, that's why I'm so crappy at sports because that
Too
was
much red.
that was our school colors, maroon and gray.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, not only do they not look good on me, but that's why I don't perform well. So
Yeah.
it was like
Okay.
maroon, there was like a gray and like
Yeah.
some poopy brown color, which
Yeah, I was gonna
I,
say poop brown. I
yeah.
was, and yeah.
Yeah, you were starting to go there. I'm like, Carrie, that's right. And then my winners were like yellow and aqua, which I knew. Maybe a purple, and then the one that surprised me was pink, kind of like bubblegum pink. I'm like, "Ugh, I
I
don't
hate
like
that color.
pink. I
I
was
don't
like,
know why. I
pink.
have a vendetta against that color though. Baby pink,
I think
powder
it's because
pink.
the 80s, it was like
It's gotta
everywhere.
be. Yeah, and it's like bubblegum pink and then powder pink. I'm like, oh, I would rather die. I have like a baseball jersey for the Tigers, and it's been in my closet forever. And I just put it in Riley's closet because I can't handle even having it anymore.
Yes. So I got a pink, and I remember at the time thinking, ew, I don't like pink. Pink is dumb. I do like pink now.
No, yeah,
Not
you do. Yeah.
necessarily bubblegum, but it just amused me to no end because I went into
Yeah.
thinking this is nice, but I wasn't thinking much would happen. And
Yeah.
then literally the colors that they said I was more and less powerful for, I was surprised that they were pretty accurate for at least colors I was drawn to.
Yeah.
And everyone had different answers.
That's really cool.
So he did kind of things like that. You know, when you were in school, Carrie, did you do dissection?
I actually did it in elementary school.
So did I. What did you dissect? Do you
I
remember?
remember in second grade there was a sheep eye
Yes, we did a
and
cow eyeball.
sheep heart too, or something. And I remember sticking the straw down the valve.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Oh, and
never
the
got a heart
coldness.
experience.
Okay, well, it's not. I remember feeling the jelly of the eye.
Second
no,
grade. I can't believe they're putting second graders through this.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess start them early. But we never did a frog. Like, and maybe part of it is because I moved schools so many times, but I don't remember much else than that. I know sometimes the teacher would do it and we'd look at it, probably because we were small town USA, and they're like, we can afford
One
one.
frog per classroom.
Yeah, but we can't afford, 50 or 100 or whatever
Mr.
classroom
Tallman
size.
sourced enough for the entire biology class.
Because he had a second job selling weird oddities or plants. Okay, sorry. If you ever talk to him again, I don't want to. I don't want to say ill things because, like, he
Oh, no,
might
he's great.
laugh and he might
He's
not.
great.
I don't know. He might be
No.
like, "Shoot, someone figured it out."
No, he was like this devout Lutheran man. He's a very nice man who did not break rules.
Ah.
So that's how I know the human skeleton would have been gotten legally, though today it's probably not legal to own it. So he sourced enough frogs. I mean, there was like 4 of us doing frogs, but for advanced biology class, frogs were so last year, Carrie. You know what we dissected? A cat. A cat, Carrie. He got it out of his little refrigerator, his freezer, where he kept it in between classes, and he brought it out. And I called it socks because those were the only parts of the body with fur still on it. It was
Are you
just
joking?
no. I was like, "Where did you get this from?" He goes, "The Humane Society was hit by a car, and it was done."
He
and so
lied. He just went outside in small
Found
town
a cat.
USA and found a bunch of cats. Oh my
No.
god. He might
No,
actually
because
talk
this-
to him. I shouldn't say that.
this he literally, I'm sure he called the Humane Society and waited patiently and got a cat.
Yeah,
So,
or that he's got him on reserve. We're like, hey, if you get a cat, let me know. I'll put it in the freezer.
well, this is the thing. I don't. By the time I got it, because he said every 3 years I got to rotate, my dissection animal because that's as long as they last. But I'm like, I'm at the end of that 3 years by the time it got to me because is not looking good. And I remember my family never did roast beef. Okay, they're always doing tuna fish sandwiches or ham sandwiches, but for some reason, at the same exact time in my life, my family's on some sort of roast beef sandwich kick, and my mom would try to make me roast beef sandwiches for lunch, and I was like, "Peace out, I can't. I'll die." This is my, and I had advanced bio like right after lunch, and so I was like, no. So I remember rebelling, saying, "Mother, I will not eat the lunch." So he also had us do, so he was into genetics. So he is the reason why when I went to Michigan State, I wanted to be a geneticist. That was my first major.
This is
Can
your
you-
first dream?
Can you see me doing genetics, Carrie?
I actually can. You want to know why?
Gosh, why?
Because you are so thorough, and imagine me patting you on the back and just telling you all the nice things about you. Ready? Ready? Because you're so thorough and you're very smart, and I could see you very easily looking at the characteristics of all these things and lining them up and noticing the
Oh,
trends and being like,
okay.
aha. Would you get bored with it? Probably. But you would
Maybe.
be really good at it.
Well, thank you for believing me. I did not believe in me once I got to college and they said, hey, cool, here are the math requirements.
Oh,
And they're
math.
like, we don't know if you've got those chops. Because when I went to college, my math brain just stopped in 11th grade. I just stopped computing, or sometime between 11th and 12th grade. I remember I went to Michigan State and they had me take a little pre-test for math
Mm-hmm.
to see where they were going to place you. And they said, you failed that miserably. Like you should be in baby
Wow.
math. They said, but your ACT scores were very high in math. So we'll let you take the regular math class. We're just guessing you had a bad day. And I said, yeah, sure. No, Carrie, I just had a bad brain. It just stopped doing math. So peace out. But Mr. Tallman made me believe in genetics because you have these special projects you do. So mine, after he taught us about genetics and he had us practice breeding fruit flies to look for mutations and genetic
Wow.
anomalies. And so I was so fascinated by this. I don't think he ever had a more dedicated student for the fruit fly project because every day I was like, I'm going to make a discovery. I'm going to find these fruit flies are going to do something crazy. We're going to make a discovery.
Wow.
It never happened. It was
I feel like that's science for you. Sometimes it's like
sad.
you can believe it all
He
day long,
knew
but that
this.
doesn't make it
He'd been
true,
doing
right?
this for 25 years, but April T comes in like, this is the time, Mr. Tallman. We're going to make a
Today's the day.
discovery
Yeah, this
every
is the
day.
year.
No damn discovery. I was so pissed. But anyways, he got me so into it. So my paper for him, because you could do it on water samples or ecology or whatever you wanted to. Remember, my project was the DNA of our Jack Russells and like how when you breed them, like recessive traits and all that kind of stuff. So I just got into it. Got
Wow,
into it.
this is very elaborate. Was this a semester like or a whole year?
It's a year. So I don't know
Wow.
what your school's like, but back in the 1900s for me, if you take advanced biology, and this is how our school was set up, you had every class every day. So I had English every day for 50 minutes, September through May. So
Yeah, I
advanced
remember
bio was
just
the same.
certain specials being like a semester instead of a, so I wasn't sure,
Okay.
or, something like that. But
Yeah.
this is
Nope.
because based on like all the schools I've been to and what I remember, all of what you're saying sounds like college level science experiments. I don't really know
It could have been.
anybody. I mean, it could have been. It sounds like
He
he's
was, and so
Mr.
was
Ecology.
the chem teacher. We had a high caliber science program. He actually took us to the University of Michigan so we could see the science department and
Holy
meet with the
cow!
professor. Yeah, like he was really. That was my first
Involved.
visit to like a college ever.
Wow.
Before
I don't.
I mean, I took classes at Saginaw Valley, but that doesn't really count because it's smaller. But to like a big university, I'd
I
never
don't
been
know
to
if I've
Ann
ever
Arbor
been to a
before.
university.
Yeah. Oh,
I have to think through that one.
yes.
I mean, I may have gone to a kegger near
That
a
still
university,
counts. Well,
but
yeah,
it's
you have
not.
to be on campus.
I don't think I've been on. I think the only other time I've been near a campus is when we went with Julie and we did the tour of
Oh,
her.
yeah.
But like otherwise.
Yeah, so
And
you
I
haven't been
saw
in the
where
building
you
or
did
anything?
school, but I guess I've never been on campus. So yeah, I guess I've been to one. Okay, so I digress. Okay, so
So yeah, he was like just really into equipping us for college and science world and probably hoping at least one of his students would just go off to do great things.
yeah,
Like
that's so cool.
his family is really smart. I think his daughter ended up working for NASA or something. Like
Wow.
she's a science. My sister said she came and talked to her class because my sister, she was like 4 years younger than me in school. Her advanced bio class was all girls. So
Wow.
she said Mr. Tallman had his daughter come in and talk about women in science because he was always championing women doing cool shit. He was a progressive dude who believed in everybody. So
Wow.
love it. Love it. I don't remember
That's
where
really
she
cool.
worked, but she was very, very bright like him. So this is the dude, Carrie. This is the dude I'm going to school with. He is encouraging me. Small town backwoods USA, there's not a lot of encouragement to dream big
There's a
or
lot of
go far.
survival. There's a
Yeah.
lot of survival. Yeah.
And a lot of the kids don't come from a lot of means. They're surviving. And so, like, higher ed isn't even encouraged really or lauded or applauded. I remember one of my best friends was our class valedictorian, and she studied and worked hard, and she liked school, and she's just very smart. Everyone said she was a lesbian. Because, why would you be so smart and into all these things and not into boys and like getting married as soon as you can and having babies and stuff?
Or being a farmer like your
Yeah.
parents and
She
their
was like,
parents.
no, I have goals and I'm reaching for them. They're like,
Yeah.
so you got to be a lesbian. Why?
But that's the
Why?
1900s for you. That's how it was.
Was
Like, it was the Wild West. It really was.
It was so weird. So to have a teacher who was like, yeah, you can get out of here, you can do something. You can get out of here and do something and come back too, because P.S. I'm here, and you can have a cool life in rural Michigan, but go and do and become who you are. So he was that guy. And so I had him like, I remember senior year, I didn't have him. So for 3 years, I had this teacher in my life. And then
Wow.
senior year, I was still around. I saw him, and then I ended up dating his son after that. So then I still saw him. So he's been around a long time in my life. So I remember this was during advanced biology class. I told you, Carrie, we studied fruit flies, and I was going to be geneticist. I was going to make a discovery, and I was going to change the freaking world. So I was always looking for opportunities. I wanted to impress Mr. Tallman, be like, Mr. Tallman, I listened to you. I learned from your class, and look what I did. Look what I did. So one day we lived on like a 75-acre farm, and there's outbuildings all over the place. And I was in what we called the Big Red Barn. It's this giant, the classic red barn. And it had a big stone basement that had been hand hewn, the walls, the stone walls. And I was down there playing around one day. I don't remember what I was doing. I might have been hanging out with the cats. We had a lot of barn cats. We had like a calico cat population. I loved calico cats.
It's easy to have. They just happen. Same thing at my dad's. They're just everywhere.
Yep. And we befriended a lot of them, and they would get pets and stuff. And anyway, so I was either hanging out with the cats or maybe the pigs. We had piglets and stuff, fat little piglets, so cute.
Aw, yeah.
And we had cows. We had chickens and stuff too, but they in the Big Red Barn, it was something like, anyways, I'm down there minding my own business when I notice on the wall of those stones, the antique stone wall, these weird slugs. And I was like, I don't recall slugs growing down here. This is a pretty dry area. And I got closer, and light is filtering in through the little tiny windows down in the basement. And I'm looking at them. I was like, what the hell is this? Have I made a discovery? Carrie, this is not a slug. This ain't a slug. If
What
it's
is
a
it?
slug, they mutated like those damn fruit flies that never got their shit together. I don't know. So I'm looking at them, and I was like, and there was like several, maybe a dozen. There was so it wasn't just like this random slug. There was like a colony, Carrie. So I was so excited. I run up to the house and I get a jar because I got to show Mr. Tallman what this discovery is, or maybe he'll know what it is, and he's like, it's some exotic thing from some other world, and we don't know how it got here, So I get a jar. And I run back to the house, and I think, you know what? I should ask my dad about this first, because my dad knows some stuff, and it's his barn. So I remember my dad was in the kitchen. My mom was doing dishes. I said, Dad, I found something in the barn. And he said, what? I said, I don't know. It's this weird slug that was on the walls in the basement. Have you seen anything like this before? Maybe it's not a slug, but it's like this gelatinous looking thing, a little shiny, kind of brown color. I don't know. Strange, like maybe the size of a dime or a nickel, like small. So I show him the jar or whatever I had him in, and he and I are pouring over it, and he's getting excited. And I'm
Wait.
thinking, yes.
You gotta tell me how your mom's like reacting. Is she like just shaking her head like, oh boy, or is
This
she
is
like
my mother in the background. Just listen. This is my mother all the time, always doing dishes. If we did a movie on my mother's life, it's dishes, and then she interjects while she's doing the dishes. Like, she's been listening the whole time.
Yeah.
And she'll interject. So one of the things that we always were complaining about our mother doing is we do things like play Trivial Pursuit or a board game in the kitchen. And she just starts shouting out answers. And we were like, Mother, you aren't playing. You're doing dishes. Okay? You can come and play, or you can do your dishes. You can't do both. And if it's Tommy's turn to answer, you cannot answer for him. So she's just in the background listening to this thing, but she's not saying anything because she's doing her dishes, probably thinking, I don't know what the hell they're doing. So my dad's looking at, he's getting excited, and I'm thinking, awesome. An adult is looking at this who has been around and who's been on this farm longer than I have. Well, no, the same amount of time, but who knows stuff. Who's looking at him and not saying, oh yeah, April, that's a funky slug and it comes out in the spring, whatever. So he says, what is this? I don't know what these are. And so we're both getting really excited. And then my mom, in true Karen fashion, turns around and looks at him and goes, those are balls. We said, what? She goes, those are pig testicles. And I said, what? She goes, Tom, don't you remember? He goes, those aren't pig testicles. These were on the wall of the barn. She goes, remember, Tom, last week when you were castrating the piglets? And I said, here, let me get a bucket for you to put them in. And you said, I don't got time for that. And you'd castrate the pig and you'd throw them over your shoulder behind you. And they stuck to the wall and you never clean them off. You never clean them off. And he said, oh, you're right.
Oh my God.
This is my discovery. Pig testicles. I mean, this is a discovery, Carrie, because how often are you going to find baby pig testicles on the wall of a barn?
I mean, how many times has your dad seen them too?
Well, I think that was the first time he had really seen them after he removes them and they get thrown away.
Yeah.
And so they'd been chilling out for a week on a wall, maybe changing a little bit.
Oh,
I don't know. But he did not remember. He didn't believe her when she said, those are pig testicles. He said, no, Karen, these were on the wall. And she goes, don't you remember? And then it all came back to him and he thought, oh yeah, throwing over my shoulder. Oh, yep. That's it. That's what those are.
And it was like, what, a week ago? So.
Yep. Or 2 weeks or something. I don't know. They were still, it was recent. But not.
That's so funny.
He had just forgotten about them and walked away and went off to other important farming tasks. And there they were. So
sliding down the wall, drying out.
They weren't even sliding. It was like stuck on the walls. It was so weird, Carrie.
Wow.
So they were then removed shortly after that. And thankfully, I had not taken those into Mr. Tallman and said, look at this discovery. And then he has to come to my house to see the discovery. And he goes in the basement of the barn. He's like, what is this? And then my mother at that point hollers over her shoulder from the house, those are balls. Those are pig testicles. Because I was so excited, so proud. I thought, yeah, I had no notes,
heart.
Mr. Tallman. None. So I did not get to make a discovery. I'm hoping that Mr. Tallman has had a student go on to do great things scientifically. But I think it would tickle him if I told him, hey, I'm into plants. Now, I don't have any exotic stuff from other countries, dude. And I don't have a 2-story greenhouse with a spiral staircase in it, Carrie. I'll send you the story.
God,
He's a trip.
That's such a scientific thing to have. Like that. That is a like. I mean, what? How would you categorize that? That's like, and you don't want to be biased, right? But you're like, no, seriously. There's probably a hidden trap door that goes down to a basement.
Oh, there could be.
Right?
More plants.
A spiral staircase ain't nothing to guff at. Like, there's a certain... I don't know what to say, but that's exactly what a mad scientist would have.
I know. He had all sorts of stuff on his property. He had an old, fire truck that I think he used in the parades. And, the Eco Club would ride in it. He had tractors. I'm pretty sure he had his own school bus, Carrie. Now, maybe he didn't, but the forestry class was always going around. And we went around in a school bus to do our water sample testing. He drove that thing. So he had a bus driving license. But he might have borrowed it from the school, but I would not be surprised if he flat out owned a bus that he got on sale somewhere.
Oh my gosh.
And used it for his
buying a bus
projects.
Was cool. Yeah. Wow. This is a great story. So just to recap, every one of your siblings had this teacher. And
no, he retired when there's 5 of us kids. So kid number 3, he retired when she was out.
So that's why you and Annie and your brother all share.
My brother didn't take as many classes with him, but yeah, my 2 little sisters, there was a whole leaving after around 2000. All those teachers had come in the early 70s and they retired. The school was
Oh,
wiped
wow.
out. My sister,
Wow.
the number 4, she didn't have any of our teachers except for like 2. They were all gone.
Yeah,
So,
that tracks, I feel like.
mhm.
Yeah, I have a sister who's 4 years younger, and then it's 10 after that. So, or 9. So, like, yeah, I don't think I shared any teachers except maybe my second grade teacher with my little sister.
To share the
Otherwise,
stories or anything. Yeah, to say, remember so
yeah,
and
there's
so? And they'll say,
nothing.
oh, yeah. Oh,
Oh, wait,
yeah.
but no, I take that back. So, my older sister, she's 10 years, well, 9.5 years
Hmm.
older than me. So, when she went to school in our elementary school, we did share. She had a teacher who ended up being the principal by the time I got to it.
Oh,
So we could share that one, but
yeah.
otherwise, there is no kind of connection or like
Wow.
nothing.
Oh, my
The
gosh.
time I imagine that that's a thing. Like it just goes by fast.
I was talking with my sisters about Mr. Tallman and all the teachers because we said, Melissa, did you have so and so? No. So and so?
Mm-hmm.
No. And her husband said, how do you guys even remember a single one of your high school teachers' names? Because he went to
What?
a bigger school. He graduated with like 300 kids. He goes, I had a teacher for a semester and then I had another one. And I said, oh, well, we had the same English teacher the whole time. There's like 2, the same science. Like you had the same teacher for 4 years. Like so you got
Yeah.
to know them. It wasn't just like you said, like a semester or something for some of those classes. But yeah, he did not have that kind of experience. So maybe because it was more small town. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. So then the other questions I have are so we've done 2 segments where we talked about some of your teachers and
Hmm.
we've recapped that there's a couple, maybe 1 or 2 more that maybe resonated with you.
Yeah.
But my question for you is what do you feel makes a good teacher or one that's that memorable to you? Do you feel like there's something in either of them that really stood out? We kind of talked about it in the last episode. Mr. McWhirter, which McWhirter had to be a journalist. This is like when you play Clue and you're like,
Hmm.
Mrs. Peacock. Well, obviously she's blue. So McWhirter had to do journalism. Anyways, we kind of talked about it very briefly in the last episode, but do you think Mr. Tallman had a similar thing that like made you believe in yourself? Is that like the kind of underlying thing that you
I
think
think
makes a good
so.
teacher?
I think, yeah, a good teacher inspires kids. My
That's a
husband,
good.
his favorite teacher in high school was one of his history teachers. He inspired him, and my husband went on to be a history major at school because that teacher inspired him. Even though my husband is good at reading, he's good at art, he's good at many things, and he had all those teachers that fed into him, but the history teacher just brought it to life and
So
just
much so that he
inspired
paid
him to
thousands
learn.
of dollars. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's
Lots and
cool.
lots of money to have that degree, which does not compute into any kind of actual job. So I think, yeah, if you've got a teacher, because think about that, Carrie, what teachers do you remember from elementary, even if you don't remember them clearly, or middle school, were they the teachers that either A, believed in you, because that is a big
Hmm.
deal, or B, inspired you to
I,
believe in yourself, maybe?
yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. And inspire you, I think, is a great rounded answer because you can be inspired in many different ways. I had an
Hmm.
amazing art teacher. She was amazing. I
Mm-hmm.
had her all through elementary school, and we always did something new. It was never the same project. It was never, she was so creative. I remember we used to do clay every year. Like there would be something,
Uh-huh.
and it would be pinch
Sure.
pot, or we made these like bells that were shaped like animals.
Oh,
And she
fun.
just always had the greatest things. And then one year we did like, we each got a star cut out and then we had to draw into it, like make the star into some sort of character. So mine was like a princess because of the
Oh,
crown top.
uh-huh.
And so you decorated the back to look like the back of the person and the front would be the
Cool.
front. So you were,
Yeah.
yeah, which was a really cool thing. And then I just remember she was great and she inspired me to think outside of the box. She
Mm-hmm.
inspired me to be creative in what I did. And, it's so funny though. I talked to my kids about this because they've both been in the art show before. And the
Yeah.
first time they were in the art show together, my little like mom heart was exploding, and I just cried. Like I don't
Oh,
cry all the time, but it's these key moments that just make me just weep, openly weep. And that was one of them because they were both in the art show, and I'm like, oh my
oh.
God, because as a kid, my teachers were great at keeping my artwork, but never
Mm-hmm.
putting it in the art show. So I don't know which is better. Is it better to have art show projects, or your teachers keep your artwork to show other kids to inspire them? Like, which one is better?
That's a good question. I don't know.
So my art teacher was great. And then when I went to middle school, I really liked my art teacher there too. Again, he took all my artwork. I remember I didn't even notice till it was way too late. But I think on an education level, the one teacher that I have that's my very favorite, her name is Miss Gulick. And I know where she lives. I've been to her house. And every time my dad and I would like drive past her house, I'd be like, my favorite teacher lives there. And I would say it so much
Aw.
that he'd be like, I know your favorite teacher lives there.
You don't even have to
And
say it.
you don't even have to say it. And so I think the thing that really made, and this is John's favorite teacher too, that I know of. We went to high school together, and she was one of the people that would, she talked about how when she was in college, it was during the 60s or
Mm-hmm.
50s, in the wild, wild west 1900s. And
Mm-hmm.
she was someone who advocated for the black community to be held at a higher standard. And so
Mm-hmm.
she would march in the
Or not held to a
oh my
higher
God, what is
standard,
it?
but regarded as equals.
Yeah, like to equal rights. So she would
Yeah.
march in the equal rights parades. Sorry, that's where I was going with that. My brain doesn't always
Yeah. Now I knew
line
where you were going.
things up when I need it. But she talked about being in the marches for the equal rights, and how important it was to her to stand up and speak for what you wanted. And I know there was like a situation at our high school where a teacher got fired, and we all knew it was happening. I don't, and like you look back at small town USA and you're like, how did we all know? If a teacher's getting fired, why would all the
Oh,
students know?
yeah.
Do you know what I
Because
mean?
everybody
I mean, it was a
talks.
big, yeah, and it was a big reason why, which I won't get into, but she basically stopped class and was like, if you feel that this is an important thing for you to stand up for, you can go ahead and leave this room.
Oh, huh. Yeah.
And I
That.
mean, I didn't. It wasn't because I didn't believe in but she opened that idea up to us about how it was important for us to take the opportunities if we didn't agree to show. And so it was a
See.
different kind of inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
She's like a little tiny lady. She was just like the sweetest, and
Oh.
I don't
But
know.
see,
She was
that
really, really cool.
inspiring doesn't, when you think a teacher is preparing you for adulthood in your like,
Hmm.
career, right? But these teachers inspired us, but didn't impact our careers directly. They weren't inspiring in a career sense. They inspired us as
Hmm.
human beings. And then we developed into
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, because now I'm a person who speaks up.
Hmm.
It took me a while to get here, don't get me wrong, but I think that she was also a very compassionate person. So watching
Hmm.
her be compassionate and speak of her boldness and bravery and taking the time to care for each other and listen to each other's words. Like she was our literature teacher and our English teacher, and so she like had many hats of different classes. And so
Hmm.
that's what we would do is we would write our own music, we would write poetry, we would
What?
just write and
That's
write and
cool.
write. And even though during that time frame I kind of like didn't love it. I also had a
Hmm.
horrible narcolepsy issue I didn't know about.
Yep.
So writing was really hard for me.
Hmm.
But looking back, I think back to how great it was to have the opportunity to hear, accept, and appreciate other people's opinions and ways of writing, speaking, expressing themselves. Because truthfully, like that was probably, especially in small town USA, you don't get a
Hmm.
lot of that.
No,
You
you
don't
don't
get it.
get
And I
that
remember we
diversity
would
of
do,
thought.
she had this really cool thing she did for, I think it was like the juniors or the seniors, or like when you got up into one of her classes. I don't remember if
Hmm.
it was like a class we took or what grade you were, or something like that.
Yeah.
But she would turn her classroom into this place called the Purple Onion. And she would put like purple paper up and lights. And it was like a poetry club, like a slam club. Is that what it's called? Like where you have those little
Or a
like
poetry
underground.
slam.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we would do, we had to write all this poetry. And then I helped her stay after class and like set up the purple
Oh,
onion.
yeah.
So put up the lights and all this fun stuff.
Oh, how
And so
fun.
that's what we would do. We would do that snapping thing. Like when you clap,
Mhm.
instead you snap.
Oh, yep.
Just because she was
Mhm.
teaching us history as she was also, teaching us to listen to each other. So
That's
I
very
think you're right.
cool.
I think inspiration is the key to being a favorite teacher.
Mhm.
I would agree with that.
And being a good teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So, I encourage everyone out there to think about their favorite teacher, their most
Mm-hmm.
inspiring teacher, and if they're still alive, P.S. If you think they're dead, they might not be. If you're like me, if they're still alive, maybe drop them a note. Like, because Carrie, you said, if anyone sent me a note, remember when I was a kid, you inspired me, by being my auntie down the street or whatever. Send that teacher a note because they don't hear from these kids anymore. And I think it'd be really cool for them to hear from someone as an adult who still remembers them and who was impacted by them. It shows them that their work mattered.
Yeah, and it's still reverberating through the world, whether it's
Hmm.
little or it's big. That's really cool. Thank you for listening to Finch and Sparrow podcast. We hope that you enjoyed our stories related to our lessons or just laughed along with us. We sincerely thank you for spending your time with us today. A special thanks to our friend Caitlin Vinci for letting us use her song We Rise. You can check out her full song and other tracks at CaitlinVincimusic.com. Follow along with us on our Instagram at Finch_N_Sparrow. There you can find out what we're up to, see what's inspiring us, and maybe what we're going to do next. See you next time.
Yes, you can be real and true, and it's all you allow yourself to do.